Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Richard Cole, and today I'm going to talk about how to make the perfect Super Deluxe edition. Alright, so was released on October 13th, 1992, released on Paisley Park Records and Warner Brothers Records. Was also known as the Love Symbol or Symbol album, but if you look up any official Paisley Park information, it will list it as the Love Symbol album. For those that aren't familiar with Prince, this was sort of the beginning. This is a symbol that he's used pretty much through most of his recording career, but this was sort of the official or definitive symbol of that he would use. Actually, a year after this album's release, he would adopt it as a somewhat official name change. So there was no pronunciation for it. So basically, is what you got. Actually, special font was created for computers, so when journalists would write articles or review albums, they could use the symbol. But for simplicity, he was referred to as the artist formerly known as Prince, later shortened to the artist. But this was the kind of the first wave. It was just the title for an album before it became an official name change. So with that backstory out of the way, there have been rumors for the last couple of years that either this was getting a Super Deluxe Edition release or Diamonds and Pearls was going to be the next. After kind of getting some really cool Super Deluxe, as you can see behind me, the Sign of the Times, there we go, Sign of the Times Super Deluxe, and just to the far end by the doorknob is the 1999 Super Deluxe. So we, were wondering what was going to come next. There was rumors that Parade was going to be the next one, but kind of over time, the rumors kind of centered around either this or Diamonds and Pearls. A few weeks ago, there had been apparently, allegedly, some artwork or cover art revealing a possible release, if not a Super Deluxe, but a possible reissue of this and or Diamonds and Pearls. There's rumors that it would be a hybrid of the two as a box set, but again, no official word from the Prince estate or Sony Legacy about any of those things coming. So with that being said, this episode is going to kind of talk about what would be the perfect Super Deluxe configuration for this one. May do one on Diamonds and Pearls somewhere down the road, but I don't know, we'll see. But if you want me to do that, leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts on that. But the way the Prince estate has been dealing with their Super Deluxe releases, pretty good. Other artists as well have been releasing some really great sets. But I think what makes the Prince estate unique is that you have the legendary vault tracks. So, there's literally thousands of unreleased material. And a lot of it, it's not just demos. And I think that's what separates Prince from a lot of other artists, maybe with the exception of Stevie Wonder, Frank Zappa, George Clinton, or even Tupac. But, the amount of vault tracks that are available, they're not just demos, they're not just like, here's the acoustic version that was the demo before it was taken into the studio to be a finished song. Most of the stuff in Prince's vault is, if not fully finished, it's either close to finish, in need of a final mix, you know, maybe a few things, might be short of a few overdubs, maybe even less, or just scratch vocals, especially, you know, tracks that have been given to other artists. So, you know, but I think the majority of stuff could make albums that could just easily stand up to anything that comes out today, or, you know, it could stand up to any one of the number of official albums that Prince has released in his lifetime. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what should be included on a Super Deluxe. All right, so of course you want to start off with a remaster of the original album. I would say by 1992, especially with Prince, I think, you know, CD sounds pretty good as it is. Unlike the earlier material, like his classic 80s material, especially the earlier albums, they were in definite need of a remaster. So it's great to have the Sign of the Times. It's great to have the 1999. There's a lot of controversy with the the Purple Rain remaster. If you're familiar with the channel, you've seen that, but I'll post links to those where I address the Paisley Park remaster of Purple Rain. But again, you know, a definite original album remaster would definitely be a nice touch, or a nice start to a Super Deluxe edition of this album. I guess to go back a little bit, I don't know. You know, Diamonds and Pearls was a huge success. It was designed to be a commercial album, you know, as pop can be, which for an artist like Prince was just as left field. You know, that was, you know, the unexpected. With this one, I don't know. You know, when the singles My Name is Prince and Sexy Method dropped, I would say I was slightly underwhelmed. I was, you know, excited to hear new Prince material at the time, but again, I was slightly underwhelmed. But for some reason, I was still excited to hear what this album was going to sound like. And when it was released, there's some songs on it that I really enjoy. It's taken me a while to really embrace the whole album, but there's been an actual symposium actually dedicated to this album. I think I'll put that link in the show notes as well. That, you know, where everyone shows their undying love for this album. And like I said, to me, it's not like in my top 10 of Prince albums. But like I said, there's songs on it that I do enjoy. But yeah, I mean, I would actually get a Super Deluxe if it drops. Like I said, just to hear it remastered. Maybe there's some tracks, some alternate versions of some tracks that I might enjoy better. But definitely an original remaster of this album to lead off. But the most exciting part would probably be the vault tracks. And what vault tracks would you include? Some say that there wasn't a lot of material. Now, I would say that there probably wasn't as much as, say, you would have gotten with the Sign of the Times or even Parade, 1999. You know, I mean, he was kind of, you know, in the zone for, you know, a 4 or 5 year period. But, you know, he worked relentlessly nonetheless. And there's still some material, an abundance of material that you could include. To start off, the original tracks that included keyboardist Rosie Gaines' vocals, whether as a co-lead or to augment the background vocals. I think that is something that has been sorely missed from this since she left the band kind of during the recording of this project. But you can include some of those tracks. I'd be interested to hear what those would sound like. But as far as actual vault material, let's start with stuff that was recorded around, say, October 1981. There's a song called Allegiance that was given to singer Howard Hewitt of Shalimar, and actually one of my favorite singers, period. But with this track, I've heard Allegiance from the album. I can't think of the title of the album, but the Howard Hewitt album that song appears. It's not a bad song. I think the only thing that's missing would have been Prince actually producing the track. So it would be Prince's playing, his production style, some of the production decisions that would have been made, or kind of an arrangement or collaboration. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think that there's a lot of Prince that's actually on the Howard Hewitt track. I think it was replayed by whatever studio musicians Howard used on the album. But like I said, it's not a bad song, but I'm wondering what the Prince version would sound like. So that would be one thing that you can include on that on the Vault Tracks version. A couple of other songs. A song called Well Done that was given to the gospel group The Steels. That's one I haven't heard, so I'd be curious to hear what that sounds like. There's also a song called Hold Me, an Open Book, which was actually given to Javetta Steele. Again, I haven't heard what these sound like, but I would be curious to, hear actually the release versions by these artists, and would love to hear the original Prince version as well. Of course, let's see, of course, She Spoke to Me, of course, that's been released on Girl 6, the short version that was used in the Spike Lee film. There's the longer version, which I really like, which is on Old Friends for Sale, that compilation. That was sort of contract obligation for Prince to get out of his Warner Brothers contract. But that full version I really like, so I don't know if they would include that just for historical reference. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Let's see, what else have we got? Let's move to December of 1991. And, also shout out to Per Nilsson for his work on a book called The Vault. That's out of print. I've got a PDF of it, but but shout out to Per Nilsson for that research. Shout out to Dwayne Tudhall, I guess, for the assist on that, as they used to work together. And Dwayne Tudhall has, let me see if I can, there they are behind me, the 2 volumes, the Purple Rain era sessions and the Parade era sessions. Shout out for their diligence in compiling this information that I am utilizing for this episode. So let's see what else. So a lot of this is stuff that's actually on the album. Let's see, there's a song that was recorded by El DeBarge called Tip of My Tongue. Let's see, I did listen to that on streaming. I'm gonna have to listen to it again because that was so long ago, as I intended to record the episode then. It's been kind of weeks, I think maybe a month or 2 now, since I've last heard it. But again, it wasn't a bad song. To me, I think it worked better than Howard Hewitt's Allegiance song. And again, I think it's just because I think with Howard Hewitt, it would have benefited more from Prince producing it in this case. But yeah, I don't think the El DeBarge song, Tip of My Tongue, that was pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to have to listen to that one again. Let's see, what have we got? We got going into March of 1992, a group called Lois Lane. They did a cover of the Prince B-side titled Sex and a song called Qualified. And then we've got from mid to late March, there was Prince working with director James Brooks for Prince to do songs for a movie called I'll Do Anything. The movie, I think, is pretty much largely forgettable. I don't think the songs ended up being used, or it wasn't Prince that was doing the singing. Some decision was made to have the actors singing it, and like I think the test reviews were so bad that they took that part out of it, and just the movie just sucked overall, I think. But a lot of those tracks did end up on the Old Friends for Sale, the Vault record, compilation record. That was Prince's last album for Warner Brothers. But again, the Prince versions include those. If there's alternate mixes that, or if it was the original mix instead of, I guess, whatever the final mix was for the Vault compilation, it'd be nice to have those included on that set. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's songs. Yeah, I'll Do Anything. Let's see. Well, let's see. Make Believe. I think that one's still unreleased. Empty Room. I think there's been a live version that's been officially released, but would love to hear what the studio version sounds like. Let's see, what else have we got? And then Prince's version of Don't Talk to Strangers, that's been released on the Girl 6 soundtrack. Shaka Khan covered it for her Come to My House album. So, but again, something that can be included on a Super Deluxe edition. So that way, if you're not interested in owning the Vault, then, and especially if you're a big fan of this album and this era, it'd be nice to have all of those songs in one place, instead of trying to compile CDs or create your own list or anything like that. But let's move on to April of 1992. Let's see, I guess they were in Australia for a tour, recorded some sessions in, I guess, a studio there. Let's see, what have we got there? Let's see, Peach was recorded there. Carmen Electra's Everybody Get Up, 1,000 Hugs and Kisses, which was originally planned for Rosie Gaines, so it'd be nice to maybe hear that version, or if there's an original Prince vocal, or maybe just have both. Have both. It's still the MPG, so that'd be a cool inclusion for the Vault tracks for the album. Let's see. So, let's see, of course, let's see, I Want to Melt With You, that was recorded in July of 92. Let's see, before that there was a song called Baby Doll. That again, it's another track that I haven't heard, but would be curious to hear what that sounds like. So, some pretty good ideas for a Vault album. Like I said, not a whole lot of material, but like I said, if you kind of weigh it up with maybe original mixes or original versions with Rosie Gaines as the vocalist or co-lead vocalist, then you'd have a pretty good set. And like I said, if you're somebody like me that hasn't heard a lot of these songs, that would be a good inclusion. And two, the songs that were done for I'll Do Anything, which ended up on the Vault compilation. Again, have everything in one place, on one CD or two CDs, and I think it would make a pretty good set. You know, it'd be pretty strong. I mean, depending on what your favorite era of Prince would be, I would say this is kind of in the middle. Like I said, I grew up high school, early college years on the classic '80s material. But for me, the '90s era of Prince really didn't get interesting for me until after this one. So like '93 to like '96, I was just as hyped for that material, both released and unreleased, as much as the classic '80s material as well. But like I said, this is something that if they dropped that and if they included the vault tracks, again, just on the novelty of the original mixes and the vault tracks that I haven't heard, yeah, I think it would be a pretty good. It would be eclectic, because I think it would be a lot of diverse styles. Whereas a lot of the classic '80s stuff, even though a lot of that is diverse and pretty eclectic, like Parade is the most eclectic out of all of that. Everything else still was kind of in that Prince, whatever mood or style he was in. It fell into that, but it was very energetic material. Whether it was a fast cut or ballads, or whether he was doing something different than funk or different than rock, it still had an energy to it. Here, like I said, I'd be curious to hear what a lot of this would sound like. So, with that done, let's talk about the live material. Again, that the difference. Well, actually, I don't know. A lot of artists, I would say, for example, like a Jimi Hendrix or Frank Zappa, there's a studio album that's released, and then they'll release a live album or something. But with Prince, with the Super Deluxe editions, what's great about those is that you get the original album, you get the vault tracks, and then as a bonus you get live CD, you get a live DVD, or as we're, Blu-rays are the standard, the Blu-rays now. So I think that's what makes Prince releases a little bit more interesting than other artists. Not to say that they're not exciting as well or not fun to have, but I think just the type of artist that Prince was, you get that variety, and it makes these box sets interesting. So hopefully, the family now runs the estate along with Primary Wave. Hopefully they're on the same page, and let's stay with the standard of excellence that the 1999 and Sign of the Times Super Deluxe, even something like the Welcome to America package, that was a totally unreleased thing, but you got a bundle with the CD, you got one with the vinyl, you got a Blu-ray that came with it. So that level of excellence should stay with that. So with that, your third and fourth disc would be the let's start with Act 1, the Act 1 tour, and I would say a CD or or a Blu-ray to include with that. There's that was one of the shows, unfortunately, I couldn't make. I don't think it made it here in my town, but I've heard clips of it. I've seen some footage. I haven't seen an entire show. I haven't heard an entire show. But what I did hear was absolutely amazing. So I would say definitely include that. Now the Act 2 tour, I would say, I would say include that with this set. But here's the thing, historically with that. That was right around, like right before the name change and Prince wanting to get out of his contract with Warner Brothers. And I think historically speaking, it would lend itself more towards that era, since a lot of that took place in 93, the early part of 93. So again, I would say probably include the CD or the DVD along with that for this set. But you can also do that one as a sort of standalone release. Again, kind of as historical context for what was to come later with the whole battle with Warner Brothers and the name change and all the material surrounding that. But I would say in that case, if you did like a standalone, maybe do if there's like video footage, maybe just do a Blu-ray as a standalone and maybe include the audio for this set. I mean, there's many different ways you can configure that, so I don't know, but let me know what you guys think should be a good idea as far as how to handle the Act 1 and the Act 2 material. But like I said, it wouldn't be bad if it was all in one set. But again, as we get more discs added to this, obviously the higher the price is going to be for this. But in some cases it'll probably be worth it. Probably have to drop my purple croutons to get the set. But I don't know. Like I said, it'd be interesting to see. But this way would make it the perfect or the great or a great Super Deluxe edition. Alright, so we've covered the original master of the album, or remaster of the original album, and we've covered the vault tracks, which typically for Prince releases have been 2 discs. And then we've got Act 1, the Act 1 tour. We've got the Act 2 tour that you can include maybe both audio, or you can include both Blu-ray, maybe both, or this is an idea, what some box sets where you have a Blu-ray disc where it mostly has just maybe a 5.1 or Dolby Atmos mix of the album. You can maybe have a Blu-ray that would include those things, but include an audio of a particular Act 1 and Act 2 show, and Blu-ray of Act 1 and Act 2, if you can put all that on one disc. And then that would kind of make it a little bit more cost effective because you have less discs to worry about. But that would probably be a good idea as well, to handle just all of that material. And then what you can do is have a final Blu-ray of the 3 Chains of Gold. And you can probably almost include the Sacrifice of Victor. So that, that make it like a little, again, a Blu-ray where you put those 2 things on a disc. So, but the 3 Chains of Gold was a sort of video album. That's what we had back then. An artist of Prince's stature. You'd have artists of Michael Jackson's stature, just by the way that they would approach videos. But for me, that 3 Chains of Gold video, the videos of the album, I enjoy it more than actually listening to the album. I think that, I don't know, the way some artists approach things later, you have artists that included the CD and the DVD along with, especially like the late 90s, kind of going into the early 2000s, very pre-streaming era, pre-YouTube era. But to include something like that, the 3 Chains of Gold and the Sacrifice of Victor, which was another live DVD, or live video performance. I think that would be, those things would be the selling point for this if you're on the fence about this album. If this isn't your favorite album, I think including those things would make it more of an incentive for you to run out and buy it. Like I said, it's not a bad album. Like I said, it's not in my top 10 or anything, but I do enjoy the songs on it. Like when I got the, like Love to the Nines, to me that was kind of reminiscent of very early Prince. The Morning Papers to me was an outstanding kind of rock ballad, kind of like Diamonds and Pearls Part 2. See, and I think if there's something with Rosie Gaines that's on it, I'm not sure, but maybe hearing that version, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong out there, that if a version like that exists, but I'm just speculating that that would be something to add to the vault tracks. But I Want to Melt With You, that kind of grew on me. Like I said, when I saw the 3 Chains of Gold, all the videos, that made it more interesting. I think the sound and the visuals of that set made this a more interesting project for me. Of course, 7, I do agree, 7 should have been the lead-off single for this. I think it would have given the 2 tracks, My Name Is Prince and Sexy MF, a little bit more life if they were just limited to deep cut tracks, or if, say, My Name Is Prince was like the 2nd single or 3rd single or something like that. But 7, God Created Woman, those are about my favorite tracks on this particular album. But again, a Super Deluxe, again, I would pick it up, especially if it included those items. But whatever the estate decides to do, if they do a remaster, I wouldn't mind having the CD or the vinyl, one or the other, or both. But let me know what you guys think out there. Is this one of your favorite albums? What would you like to see included on a Super Deluxe edition of and just let me know your thoughts. Right, so that is going to end this segment of Amari Music Talk. Again, thank you once again for tuning in, and however you're viewing this, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, become a Patreon supporter. That allows me to continue to do this, and I want to do a lot more of these types of videos and other projects as well. So by all means, become a supporter, get a shout out in the videos, and tune in next time. Until then, create your day and create your life. Peace.